everybody! Welcome to 7th grade science. It's Mrs. Kinzer and
Miss Jones. Hi, you guys. We're tag teaming today.
awesome. All right, so today we're going to begin introducing you guys to a scientific argument and go over an example, things like that to get us going with wrapping up our microbiome unit.
So that means when we come to class tomorrow, each of you on the next day, each of you, like if you're at home or you are in school, you're going to be doing the same things. I know we've been going back and forth, but keep that in mind. What you're doing at home is the same thing we're doing in class for the day.
Yes, we are now going to be synchronous. Fantastic. Okay, here we go. So I want us to recall that starting off this unit, we met our pretend Congressman Senator Robert Naismith, right? And he was running for office and said that he wanted to cut funding for fecal transplant research because microorganisms are so small and the small things don't really matter. And so we've learned over this past few weeks that microorganisms are very important. Mara, our head scientist at the Institute, sent us a message about some information regarding fecal transplants. This is information that we should have already seen in class, but we're just going to review it a little bit with you guys here right now. So our letter said, "Thank you for your careful work analyzing the data for patient 23. As you know from the politician's speech, the fecal transplant procedure had something to do with feces. That's poop. I've sent you a slideshow presentation to review that includes a detailed explanation of how the procedure works. I think some of this information will help you understand more about how fecal transplant helps cure a patient infected with a harmful bacteria." And then later on, she goes on to talk about how we are going to write a supportive argument why fecal transplant is beneficial against harmful bacteria in our bodies.
Okay. So I get the privilege of talking about the fecal transplant, okay? So remember that fecal transplant is from one to another, and it happens during a medical procedure. Remember we showed you those different pictures last week, and we even showed you that funny little clip from Grey's Anatomy, and it talks about how does an actual fecal transplant work, right? You guys came up with some really good questions, by the way. The fecal transplant helps restore the quantity, meaning the amount of bacteria, healthy bacteria, and the diversity, meaning it's, we've seen that graph where it has all of our microbiomes, our gut microbiomes, has a variety of different microorganisms within them. Okay. So if you take a look at this image demonstrates that of a healthy gut microbiome. Notice that there are some little red, and those are the C. difficile bacteria, and we know that those are harmful, right? But in this person's gut, it's actually healthy, even though it has a little trickle of some harmful things. And why is that? Well, it's because during a fecal transplant, the microorganisms from a healthy person's gut are transferred into an unhealthy person's, and the process can cure the person from a harmful bacteria infection. What are the two things that the harmful bacteria needs? It needs space and food. And in a healthy microbiome, when you don't have any space and there's good bacteria, that bad bacteria doesn't have the space to grow.
Awesome. All right, so that was a really excellent review, and so we are going to practice what writing an argument should look like and how we go about that process. It's not that I'm just going to throw down some words on some paper. We need to do some thoughtful evaluation on the evidence that we have been collecting over these past few weeks. All right, so our argument, it will help explain why the senator should not cut funding for fecal transplant research. We are in favor of the fecal transplant research. But before we start writing our argument, let's review some of the important science ideas and words that we've learned in this unit. You can use these words when you make your argument, and we would prefer that you use them when making your argument. All right, our key concepts are listed here from chapter 1, and I'm going to skip over this a little bit briefly because you guys will receive a packet tomorrow about, yeah, there it is, thanks Ms. Jones, that will actually contain our key concepts already listed there for you to refer back to. And again, there is chapter 2, key concepts, and this is when we really started discussing more about fecal transplants. As well, just for some reflection, this is a vocabulary that we have covered, so hopefully a lot of this we've been seeing over and over again through our articles and our lessons together. Okay.
All right, so the claim or overarching claim that we've been focusing on is a fecal transplant can work to cure a patient infected with very harmful bacteria such as C. difficile in many different ways. Now, we're going to break that down into smaller subclaims, and we're going to focus. Remember the other day you guys chose which subclaim you thought we had enough evidence, and we're going to focus simply on one subclaim. So we gave you the opportunity. So we're going to look at the one on the far left. Bacteria from the fecal transplant can fill up the space in the gut, which limits the food and space for invading harmful bacteria. Now, your goal as researchers is to find actual evidence, and we're going to be using our articles, we're going to be using the patient 23, we're going to be using the experiment with the mice. We're going to find all of these different areas, and we're going to try to support that subclaim, okay? Now, this is what we just talked about here. From the fecal transplant can fill up the space in the gut, which limits the food and space from invading harmful bacteria. Okay.
All right, so we're going to think a little bit about what makes a strong, convincing scientific argument with a different type of an example. All right, so here's an example about actually using Coca-Cola. And so soda, or not specifically Coca-Cola, but soda, pop in general. And so this is saying that there's an argument that drinking cola is bad for your health. Cola contains 4 MEL. And so we're wondering, is this argument convincing? Why or why not? Do you have any thoughts, Miss Jones?
Well, I'm looking, the thing I want to know is, well, I do sometimes drink soda or Coke or pop or whatever, but I don't know what 4 MEL or 4 MEL is. So I'm not sure that would be convincing. Maybe it means it's full of nutrients. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I've never heard of it. I don't remember seeing that on like an ingredient list. You know, I've always seen like the corn syrup, right? Water, carbonated stuff, but interesting. So let's see here. What's the argument? What is the argument missing? And I feel like that we need some more information explaining what 4 MEL is. Maybe it's a bad thing, but I don't know that. And so I need some evidence. I need some more evidence to explain what is 4 MEL and is that truly a bad thing for your health? Okay, so one reason this argument is not very convincing, it does not explain how the evidence supports the claim. This might be evidence that cola contains 4 MEL, but we don't know what 4 MEL is or how it relates to your health. So when we are making strong scientific arguments, we must make sure that our reasoning is clear, and that reasoning is going to be the why or the because. We always need to refer back to our evidence. Why is the evidence so important, and how does that support the claim?
Okay, so here is, we're not just going to throw you out and have it, but we're going to just spin for yourself. But we have an organizational tool for you. It's called a reasoning tool. It will help you organize. Well, so first we need to figure out what's our claim, and we're going to get to that in a second. But when you're looking for evidence, we're going to use any of the articles that we've read. You're going to use any of the charts or data. So like patient 23, the mice project, any of those things that we've talked about, those key concepts, all those kind of things that we've been learning. Now's the time we're going to pull from them, and we're going to see if we have evidence to support our claim. Okay, so when you're looking at this, we have evidence, and then this matters. This is your why, and then therefore is so when you use you're going to have your claim, and then your therefore is how it supports the claim. Okay, so evidence, the middle column, reasoning, and then therefore.
Perfect. Okay, so going back to cola, we're going to use the cola argument as an example of how we would fill out the reasoning tool. And so obviously when we fill it out, you're not going to fill anything right now on anything, but you're going to use that form for your patient 23 in the fecal transplant claim.
And so I do want to interject one thing. So remember, when you have a claim, it is not that it's right or wrong. We're not supporting it to be right or wrong. It's which has the strongest evidence to support it. You might have little bits and pieces that it's kind of, but I want really strong supportive things that are going to, for us, we're going to prove the claim is going to be strong enough that it's going to be true. Okay?
Okay, so when we have our reasoning tool, a piece of the evidence that was listed that cola is bad for your health because it contains 4-MeL. So that evidence is that it contains 4-MeL. So the therefore is that we're assuming back to the claim that cola is bad for your health. Okay, so we have to make that connection back to the claim as that last section of your reasoning tool. But that middle piece is why is that so important? And so that's what we're going to see here. So this provides new information that was not listed before, but 4-MeL is a food coloring that has caused cancer in lab rats. Many things that are bad for rats are bad for other living things like humans. And we kind of seen that with the human microbiome and the mice microbiome looking very similar. And so we have to have that explanation of the why. Why? What is so important? Because why is drinking cola bad for your health? Because it contains 4-MeL. Well, what's 4-MeL? I need to explain. Well, 4-MeL is bad for you because it could cause cancer. Okay. So looking on this here as we wrap it up. So how does drinking cola affect your health? This is a really good summary and really good explanation using supportive evidence pointing back to the claim that it's bad for your health. Drinking cola is bad for your health. Cola contains 4-MeL, which is a food coloring that has caused cancer in lab rats. Many things that are bad for rats are bad for other living things such as humans. Therefore, drinking cola is harmful to the health of humans. Notice how it looped it right back to that claim at the end? That's what's important too.
Okay, so the cola argument, and it just is like includes the reasoning. This is just an example of what we are getting ready to work on, okay? You're going to use the reasoning tool to help write clear and convincing arguments about the fecal transplant.
Okay.
This is the end of our first day. Okay. In class, you will be receiving this packet. This will be for our second day. So have an understanding of where we're headed in the sense of looking to write a scientific argument, collecting evidence, the why, and then the outcome, the therefore.
Awesome. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, guys.